All set.
Welcome to the July 2022 City Council meeting. We're holding this meeting remotely due to COVID-19 exposures. To continue offering the public access to our meetings, we are posting meeting information and materials on the city's website at www.cityofrochester.gov/public meetings and streaming our meetings live on City 12 TV and the City Council's YouTube and Facebook pages. The meeting will come to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gruber,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Martin,
Here.
Councilmember Patterson,
Here.
Councilmember Peel.
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Vice President Lupian.
Here.
President Melendez.
Here.
Thank you.
I would like to ask the council to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Councilmember Patterson, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of the June regular meeting by Councilmember Peel.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting on June 14th, 2022 be approved as published in the official sheets of the proceedings.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record. The following documents are hereby directed to be received and filed. The mayor submits the following: delinquent receivables, June 30th, 2022, grants quarterly report, January 1st through March 31st, 2022. The council submits disclosure of interest forms from President Melendez on introductory number 231, 255, and 283. Councilmember Gruber on introductory number 233, 256, 258, and 259.
Thank you. These documents will be received and filed. It is time for the presentation and reference of petitions and any other communications. Are there any petitions? There are none. We'll move on to introduction of action and.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Vice President Lupian.
Quick Washington, were there petitions submitted this month electronically?
Oops. Vice President, who was that directed to? I'm sorry.
I said Clerk Washington.
Oh, no, I haven't received any petitions. I know someone inquired about petitions, but I haven't received any. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I didn't know you were talking to me.
Well, I had my microphone up, so
Okay.
fix that.
Okay, thank you. So if there are none, we'll move on to introduction of and action upon local laws, ordinances, and resolutions. Tonight, the deputy mayor and I are introducing a message of necessity related to the endorsement of a grant application for the George Eastman House. First, per section 17 of the city council rules, we must vote to authorize consideration of the legislation without referring it to standing committee. So introductory number 291 is a resolution endorsing an application for a state historic preservation grant for the George Eastman House chimney and parapet restoration project. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Gruber,
President Melendez, can I ask a quick question first?
Yes, Councilmember Gruber.
And I'm not sure this is to you or to the deputy mayor, but is this it's just kind of an odd thing. Is this a requirement of the grant that they have endorsement of the legislative body of the city in order to apply?
That's my understanding, Councilmember Gruber.
So if they do not receive this grant, is there any kind of implication of the city's responsibility
to work with them on this moving forward. I'm interested in it. I just want to understand what the implication of the vote is.
I don't know exactly what the repercussions are if we do not vote for it. I just know that it was presented to me as a prerequisite for them getting this grant.
I have no problem voting for it. I'm certainly going to vote aye. I just wanted to, I guess I mostly want to understand for something like this in the future, what it means if they're not awarded the grant. It sounds like they're in a bit of a emergency situation with their facility. And I'd like to have a sense of kind of what the city's role in that is moving forward. But we can vote on this, hope they get the grant. It's just a conversation I want to have moving forward if we're going to introduce items of necessity like this.
Noted, council member, and I will look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thanks. If the roll call is on me, I vote aye.
Thanks.
Clerk Washington, we can start the roll call again.
Okay. I have Councilmember Gruber, Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Vice President Lupian,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
So now we'll vote on introductory number 291. This also requires a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Vice President Lupian,
Yes.
President
Yes.
Melendez.
Yes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Thank you. We will now move to the reports of standing committees and action thereon. Councilmember Gruber, the Finance Committee report, please.
To the council, the Finance Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 231, authorizing an agreement relating to the Kiva Rochester $1 million celebration. Introductory number 232, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for the Financial Empowerment Center. Introductory number 233, authorizing funding and the acquisition of 308-310 Augustine Street. Introductory number 234, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funds for accounting and compliance consultant services. Introductory number 286, amending ordinance number 2022-43 relating to an amendatory agreement for legal services. Introductory number 290, authorizing an agreement for securities litigation services. This report was respectfully submitted by Councilmember Michael A. Patterson, Council Vice President Mary Lupian, Councilmember Kim Smith, Council President Miguel Melendez, and myself, Councilmember Mitch Gruber.
Thank you, Councilmember Gruber. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 231, authorizing an agreement relating to the Kiva Rochester $1 million celebration. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. And I will abstain. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 701 into the record with President Melendez abstaining.
Introductory number 232, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget for the Financial Empowerment Center. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Clerk Washington, we have read that into the record.
I'm sorry, WXXI was on the line. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 234, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funds for accounting and compliance consultant services. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 286, amending ordinance number 2022-43 relating to an amendatory agreement for legal services. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record. I'm sorry, we don't have WXXI there physically here. So we're trying to send them the link.
Wait a minute. I think excuse me, sir, WXXI? WXXI? We need you to adjust the streaming. You're showing the chambers. We need you to show the Zoom. Well, you know, okay, thank you. I'm here, you know.
Very well.
Okay, no problem.
We'll continue to mitigate those technical
Well,
challenges.
Yeah, we can just keep working. You know,
Yeah.
somebody asked. Like,
All right, so with that,
Question though, is this not being broadcast right now? And should,
This live stream is being broadcast, so there's just two streams, so we're working to take down the stream of council chambers.
got
okay.
it.
thank you. All right, Councilmember Patterson, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee report, please.
Thank you. To the council, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 235, authorizing the sale of real estate. Introductory number 237, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements related to the 2022-2023 Street Liaisons Program. Introductory number 238, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. Introductory number 239, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Home Buyer Assistance Program. Introductory number 240, appropriating funds and authorizing amendatory agreements for the Home Buyer Training Program. Introductory number 241, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Business Development Financial Assistance Program. Introductory number 242, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Neighborhood Commercial Assistance Program. Introductory number 243, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for the Aging in Place Program. Introductory number 244, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for a Legal Services for Seniors Program. Introductory number 245, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Program. Introductory number 246, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Foreclosure Prevention Program. Introductory number 247, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for Home Rochester Program Management and for the Community Housing Development Organization Reserve Program. Introductory number 248, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for tenant and landlord services. Introductory number 249, appropriating funds for the Demolition Program. Introductory number 250, appropriating funds for the Emergency Assistance Program. Introductory number 251, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Housing Rehabilitation Program. Introductory number 252, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Lead Hazard Control Program. Introductory number 253, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for the Project Phoenix Program. Introductory number 254, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe to fund lead paint poisoning prevention inspection services. Introductory number 256, authorizing grant applications to the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York for the project as amended. Yeah, give me 1 second, folks. That's 256. And we did it. Well, we'll come back to that one. Introductory number 287, authorizing loan and payment in lieu of taxes agreements for the Federal Street and Scattered Site Affordable Housing Project. Introductory number 288, authorizing a grant application to fund lead-based paint hazard remediation. The Neighborhood and Business Development Committee recommends for consideration the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 236, approving the 2022-2023 Annual Action Plan. The Neighborhood and Business Development Committee recommends the following entitled legislation to be held in committee. Introductory number 255, resolution authorizing the preparation of a plan for a downtown business improvement district. 1 second, please. I'm going to reread the item that was a little screwed up. 256, give me 1 second. So with that item, that is the signage program. So it is authorizing grant applications to the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York for the signage, for the neighborhood signage project as amended. And that report is respectfully submitted by myself, Michael A. Patterson, council members Deshae D. Harris, Kimberly Smith, Vice President Mary Lupian, and President Miguel A. Melendez.
Thank you, Councilmember. That report will be filed and published. Introductory number 235, authorizing the sale of real estate. This item will be returning to committee at the administration, as the administration works to answer some unresolved questions. So may I have a motion to return this item to committee?
Move it.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record to return introductory number 235 to committee.
Introductory number 236, approving the 2022-23 annual action plan. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 237, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements relating to the 2022-23 street liaison program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 7-1 into the record with Councilmember Peel voting no.
Introductory number 238, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 239, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Homebuyer Assistance Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 240, appropriating funds and authorizing a mandatory agreements for the Homebuyer Training Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 241, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Business Development Financial Assistance Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 242, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Neighborhood Commercial Assistance Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 243, appropriating funds and authorizing agreement for the Aging in Place Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 244, appropriating funds and authorizing agreement for a legal services for seniors program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 245, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 246, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the foreclosure prevention program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 247, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Home Rochester Program Management and for the Community Housing Development Organization Reserve Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 248, appropriating funds and authorizing agreement for the tenant and landlord services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 249, appropriating funds for the demolition program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 250, appropriating funds for the emergency assistance program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 251, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the housing rehabilitation program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 252, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the lead hazard control program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 253, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements for the Project Phoenix program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 254, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe to fund lead paint poisoning prevention inspection services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory numbers 256, authorizing grant applications to the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York for the neighborhood signage project as amended. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 287, authorizing loan and payment in lieu of taxes agreements for the Federal Street and Scattered Sites Affordable Housing Project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 288, authorizing a grant application to fund lead paint-based hazard remediation. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
We have to go back to the Finance Committee for just a moment. During the XXI mix-up, we missed one of the items, so we are going to go back to introductory number 290. And that is authorizing agreement for security litigation services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Okay. So I will now read the Parks and Public Works Committee report to the council. Parks and Public Works Committee recommends that for adoption, the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 257, authorizing an agreement related to the Bridge and Structural Engineering Services Program. Introductory number 258, authorizing an agreement for the Maplewood Branch Library Expansion Schematic Design. Introductory number 259, authorizing the mandatory agreement for the Rundell Memorial Library Exterior Building Repairs Project. Introductory number 260, authorizing agreement related to the 2024 Preventative Maintenance Project. Introductory number 261, authorizing a mandatory agreement related to the South Avenue and Elmwood Avenue Street Improvement Project. Introductory number 262, authorizing an mandatory agreement for the Aqueduct Reimagined and Riverfront Promenade Project. Introductory number 256, authorizing consolidated funding grant applications and agreements. Introductory number 66, amending ordinance number 2022-52 relating to the Brooks Landing Revitalization Project. Introductory number 267, authorizing a mandatory agreement for the Durand Eastman Park Beach House Project. Introductory number 268, authorizing the mandatory agreement and appropriating funds related to the Erie Harbor Enhancements Phase 2 project. Introductory number 269, bond ordinance of the city of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $4 million bonds of said city to finance costs of the replacement of 10 solid waste collection vehicles. Introductory number 270, authorizing mandatory agreements related to the Transitional Job Training and Placement Program. The Parks and Public Works Committee recommends for consideration the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 263, amending the official map by abandoning the Gurney Street right-of-way. Introductory number 264, amending the official map by abandoning the Holly Avenue right-of-way. This report was respectfully submitted by Council members Mitch Gruber, Willie J. Lightfoot, Vice President Mary Lupian, Councilmember Jose Pio, and myself. And we will now, this will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introduction number 257, authorizing an agreement related to Bridge and Structural Engineering Services Program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 258, authorizing an agreement for the Maplewood Branch Library expansion schematic design. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 259, authorizing the mandatory agreement for the Glendale Memorial Library exterior building repairs project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 260, authorizing an agreement related to the 2024 preventative maintenance program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 261, authorizing an amendatory agreement related to the South Avenue and Elmwood Avenue Street Improvement Project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 262, authorizing a mandatory agreement for the Aqueduct Reimagined and Riverfront Promenades Project. All in favor, please say aye.
I actually have a question about this before we vote.
Vice President Lupian.
Yes. I had a question about what consists of phase one.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, right
Thank
now
you.
with the way the project is set up, we have two separate grants from New York State to conduct the design of the full project. So what we're looking at is the entirety of what would be considered part of the Aqueduct Reimagined and Riverfront Promenades. That's going to be a very expensive undertaking. We don't know what it will be yet because we're obviously still pretty early in the design phase. So our emphasis really is on completing the design for the entire project. But phase one would entail the western end of the project limits. So what we're really looking at is as Constellation Brands moves its headquarters. I mean, it's a big deal to have a Fortune 500 headquarters coming to your downtown. As they move that there, we want to make sure that we're creating at least that initial public space, again, which will be iconic, in a manner that they, as well as others in the area of downtown, will be able to come in and enjoy. We do recognize, though, that we're going to need to find probably what I would term substantial funding for the remainder of the project. But we are conducting that part of the Aqueduct Reimagined will be effectively the limits from really where you're just general landmarks, Blue Cross Arena to where the bridge begins to cross the river.
So do we have any idea what the full project is going to cost?
I wouldn't say yet. I mean, it's really very open because, again, this isn't as simple as, well, we just want to replace something that's already there with
Right.
a newer, better mousetrap. We're looking at a full-scale reimagining and transformation of that area. So we'll definitely need to look at it, but I wouldn't put a number out there. I mean, especially in the volatile bidding environment we're dealing with now, but
Right.
even a ballpark figure at this time, I think would be premature Because if you're going to add things like a water, like, you know, if we're going to have significant water features, I think there'll be some form of an acknowledgement and respect for what the structure had served as when it was, you know, the original Erie Canal. But once you put in those types of things, they can start to, you know, create differences in costs pretty substantially when you're looking at what you may need to maintain and operate those. Versus if we were to do more of a, you know, maybe a hardscape with some plantings where, you know, I'm just using water as an example where it would be less.
Final question, you know, just having phase one be the western end and pretty much, you know, from Exchange to the Constellation Brands building. What happens to the rest of the road that's still there?
Well, and that's part of the design, but the design would transition to that. Obviously, if we're looking at removing the top, where there would be some temporary structure at a minimal cost, you know, put in place so that we don't have people driving there. And the road would need to be closed no matter what. So that's why we're also looking, as part of this, changes the traffic patterns on South and Stone. And I should add too that the other part of phase one, which is an important element, is the actual relocation of a number of major utilities, including 100, I think it's 115 kilovolt power line that's encased in a sheath with oil around it. I mean, this is going to be a fun project, but a complicated one.
Yeah. So pardon me for just trying to get my head around it. So the top of Broad Street will end at kind of a cliff.
It could be, yeah. I mean, I would say that it won't necessarily be a cliff. I mean, we'll make sure that it's safe.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
and
we
traffic
don't
will
know
be
yet.
closed?
We're going to look. Yes, traffic would be closed no matter what, because
Okay.
we'd be losing one end of a bridge, so there's nowhere
Right.
to divert the traffic.
Okay, and we don't know for how long it's going to be like that.
Not at this time. I mean, we're looking at opportunities, you know, depending on the eligibility of this project through new federal programs like the Reconnecting Communities one that's being put through the U.S. Department of Transportation via the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, also the bipartisan infrastructure law. We'll obviously be evaluating whatever sources of funding we can get for the remainder of the project. I think, again, it will help us if we can begin to not only have that final design, but have some very detailed renderings and show what the initial part of the project will look like. But as we use the term like food desert, we're also very cognizant of the fact that we don't want this to be an implementation desert. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to begin to identify it. And while we call this phase one, the natural inclination is to go, well, what about phase two? I don't think anything precludes us, if we need to take this in chunks, from doing it that way. And I wouldn't commit at this time to saying that we'll be moving in an easterly fashion from phase one. It may make sense to go to that eastern terminus at south and start to look there and create, a couple of iconic spaces. I'm a firm believer success begets success. So if we can show two good projects, there's going to be a lot more momentum for basically connecting them.
Yeah.
Is it possible to test it out a little bit before we put the investment into this, and then kind of have the potential for an unfinished project, which I hope it doesn't happen that way, but to close off Broad Street, redirect the traffic as we would, but not take out the top, and see how we can activate that space and kind of how it's being used before we kind of take that giant step? Is that a possibility?
I mean, I would say it's a possibility, but you won't be able to recreate what will be put there in place of the actual bridge itself. In other words, what's the draw to just kind of come and hang out on Broad Street that's currently configured?
Parklets maybe, or food trucks,
So,
I don't know. It's a big project.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we have a lot. I mean, one of the things that we're looking at, and we had a community advisory committee meeting this afternoon from 4 to 6 over at the Blue Cross Arena. I should mention that there's, I believe it's 1 to 4 and then maybe 4 to 6 on Thursday. I'll have to look for the specifics of where we'll be doing another public engagement opportunity. But one of the things we're looking at is creating something that doesn't currently exist. So we're not trying to duplicate existing spaces by either size, use, or feel, I'll call it. So I would say that, we really need to have that. We really need to figure out what that space is going to be, because that will be the draw, whether it's the water features, whether it's so to me, closing it off and saying, okay, we'll do this. From a traffic standpoint, we've evaluated it. The closure of Broad Street was evaluated as part of the current Main Street Streetscape Phase 2 project that's going on. as well as the traffic study that was done, or the traffic analysis that was done as part of the Interloop North planning study. So we're aware of what the traffic impacts will be. And again, when I say traffic, we're talking about vehicles, but we're also very much looking at it from a transit and non-motorized user perspective. But back to your original point is we have a feel for what will happen around it, but I don't know that we can get an accurate representation of what it will be like when this is actually transformed into, again, this world-class iconic space.
So Commissioner, before we proceed with the vote, I do want to highlight that there is an open house, as you mentioned, this Thursday from 1 to 4 at the Blue Cross Arena. And there's also a public meeting. This will be the second public meeting related to design, and that will be at 5:30 p.m. at the Blue Cross Arena as well.
All right. I was off by half an hour. Thank you for correcting me.
No.
Or maybe an
All
hour.
right. So I
Thank
think,
you for indulging my questions.
Of course.
And I just
anytime.
want to say, and I know I'm taking up a lot of airtime right now, but just that I'm still feeling really hesitant about the project, and my preference would be to do some kind of, testing on usage first. So I'm going to be a no right now, but I'm keeping an open mind.
And I would just say very quickly, if I may, President Melendez, as a response to that, we did discuss it as part of the committee review, and I can provide to you, what we have at this point in time. We'd have to do another quick look at to make sure it's sort of ready for prime time. But we can take a look at, again, those comparables that we looked at in other areas that have done this, because I think that really shows what the potential for this to be is. So anyway, thank you.
Appreciate that.
very well. So we'll double back really quick. So introductory number 262, authorizing the mandatory agreement for the Aqueduct Reimagine and Riverfront Promenades project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Nay. No.
Motion carries.
Okay, the clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-3 into the record with council members Smith, Martin, and Vice President Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 263, amending the official map by abandoning the Gurney Street right of way. This item will be returning to committee as the administration works to answer some of the unresolved questions we still have. So may I have a motion to return this item to committee?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record for returning introductory number 263 to committee.
Introductory number 264, amending the official map by abandoning the Holly Avenue right of way. This item will also be returning to committee at the request of the administration due to unresolved questions. So may I have a motion to return this item to committee?
Move it. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 to return introductory number 264 to committee into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 265, authorizing consolidated plan funding grant applications and agreements. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 266, amending ordinance 2022-52 relating to the Brooks Landing Revitalization Project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 267, authorizing a mandatory agreement for the Durand Eastman Beach Park Beach House Project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 268, authorizing an amendatory agreement and appropriating funds related to the Erie Harbor Enhancements Phase 2 project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 269, authorizing $4 million in bonds to finance costs of the replacement of 10 solid waste collection vehicles. This requires a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Peel,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Vice President Lupian,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes, motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 270, authorizing mandatory agreements related to the Transitional Job Training and Placement Program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
I will now read the Public Safety Committee report. To the council, the Public Safety Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 271, authorizing an agreement relating to the tobacco sales compliance grant. Introductory number 273, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement relating to electronic pistol permit records. The Public Safety Committee recommends the following entitled legislation to be held in committee. Introductory number 272, amending the 2022-23 budget to appropriate federal forfeiture funds and authorizing an agreement relating to the Crime Stoppers program. Introductory number 285, authorizing agreements related to the 2022-23 gift grant. This report was respectfully submitted by council members Mitch Gruber, Lachey D. Harris, Willie J. Lightfoot, Stanley Martin, Michael A. Patterson, Jose Pio, Kimberly Smith, and Vice President Mary Lupian and myself, Miguel A. Melendez Jr. That report will be received, filed, and published, and will proceed with the vote. Introductory number 271, authorizing an agreement related to tobacco sales compliance grant. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
No.
Motion carries.
Was that 2 nays? I'm sorry. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 6-2 into the record with Councilmember Martin and Vice President Lupian voting no. Did I capture that correctly?
No, you did not.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
Okay, so you voted no too, Councilmember Smith?
yes, yes.
Okay, so that's 5-3. With Councilmember Smith also voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Introductory number 273, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement relating to electronic pistol permit records. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 272 is legislation amending the 2022-23 budget to appropriate federal funds and authorize an agreement relating to the Crime Stoppers program. This item was held in committee. We need a motion to discharge this item from committee.
Move.
it.
Been
I'll
moved
second it.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
No.
Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 7-1 into the record to discharge introductory number 272 with Councilmember Martin voting no.
So before we vote on the item, I just want to make a quick statement that I'm going to request a meeting related to this item. I don't have any concerns related to the item per se. Just that there's some questions that I have to follow up this item related to the poster part of the Crime Stoppers program. So I will welcome other council members to join me for that meeting, and we'll now proceed with the vote. So introductory number 272. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
No.
Motion carries.
Was that 6-2, I believe? The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 6-2 into the record with Councilmember Martin and Vice President Lupian voting no.
Well, introductory, number 285 is legislation authorizing agreements relating to 2022-23 gift grants. This item has been held in committee. We need a motion to discharge.
Move it.
Move.
And
Second.
Second.
seconded. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
No.
Nay.
The motion carries.
I would like to speak to the item before we vote, if possible, President.
Yes, let's get the vote into the record here and then
All right.
we'll open it up.
Okay, I believe that was 6-2 with council members Martin and Smith voting no. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you. Colleagues, gun-involved violence elimination. Give. We are a community plagued by gun violence. Regularly, people in our community are shot. Regularly, people in our community are killed through gun violence. It is my hope that as a body, we could express some unity around accepting dollars to combat gun violence. But it would not surprise me if we didn't. Thank you.
I also have something to say. Oh, Stanley, go ahead.
So,
Yeah, I would like to,
Mark?
thank you. So my issue with this proposal is that the review of the data and how the program has worked show that there's actually give fatigue in RPD, and that the impact, there's really essentially no impact of the give program on gun violence, and that is included in the report that was submitted to us. So I would urge my colleagues to read this document. There are other ways to combat gun violence that don't include police. The administration has recognized that and continues to fund alternatives from policing to support ending gun violence. And we see that with the work of Saunders. So I do support funding that helps curb gun violence. And I support funding like the programs and the violence prevention work folks like Save Our Youth and Saunders are doing on the ground. So I just want to be clear on why I'm voting no. I don't believe policing has an impact on preventing gun violence. And we know that because we have a $91 million funded police and we are seeing a crisis of gun violence in our city. So I will be voting no on this.
Thank you. Vice President Lupian.
Thank you. I feel similarly, I think after reading the 2017 report, I'm not convinced that the officer part of give is effective, which is a large portion of what these grant funds will be used for. I think it may have some localized deterrent effect, but I see in my own neighborhood that it just displaces crime. With a give car on the corner of Parcells and Greeley, it didn't stop a shooting that happened on Melville and Denver just a block away. And I think we'd have to have a cop car in every corner for that to be effective. And so, though I, appreciate and think the case management and the mental health and the position at RIT are impactful, I'm going to be a no for this. And I'd like us to do more. I'd like to have a follow-up on where we are with the recommendations that were in the report for Monroe County's GIVE program, where we are. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'd like to see some evidence that the program works. Thanks.
Rebuttal.
Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you. Colleagues, that's all well and good, but if you vote against this, you're voting against funding $233,000 for RIT for the research that you want. You're voting against funding roughly $169,000 for the Pathstone work with mental health. Look, you ain't gotta like the cops, but we got people getting killed out here.
I don't understand why you're screaming, but
I'm screaming because we need to have some urgency to this. There's nothing, look, you get to have your politics. You get to believe what you want to believe, man. Y'all get to do that. That's fine. But you're going to vote against accepting dollars that we need in a time of crisis? That's who you are?
Excuse me, sir.
I
I
think-
have been consistent about voting for the things that I believe support public safety. So do not tell me that I do not have urgency, or some of my colleagues. You believe what you believe and we believe what we believe, but we all want the same thing at the end. So do not tell us that we do not.
And you're still voting, and you are still planning on voting against this legislation at a time when we vitally need these resources.
So
You're still going to do that,
please.
and you have the right to do that. But I also have the right to be.
Mr. President,
and to call
Mr.
you on
President,
court.
Yes.
Mr. President, can we please move on? Because I think I certainly understand Councilman Patterson's passion and his anger, because many of us held that same feeling during the no vote against good cause during the housing crisis. So completely understand his passion and his anger. So can we please move forward?
Yes, I would like to just make a brief statement before we move on, to say I understand, we all have positions on these items, and I encourage us to engage with each other in a respectful manner. And I'm not saying anyone was disrespectful here. I just think people got passionate. But what I will say, with respect to public safety in general, we need to have a comprehensive urgency. One of the things that I'd like to announce tonight, and I was going to do it at the end of the meeting, but I guess here's the time to do it now, is that we will have quarterly public safety meetings, committee meetings that are going to be public, that will have conversations about some of these pressing issues that we're discussing tonight. And I think it's important that we as a body continue to have comprehensive conversations around public safety, looking at the data, looking at what we're doing, what we're not doing, and determining how we can support and move forward our efforts around public safety. So it's not lost on me that we all have differing opinions on this, but with that, I would like to move us to proceed with the vote, please. So introductory number 285. Let's vote on the item. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
no,
Motion carries.
President Melendez, can we get a roll call vote?
Yes, we can do that. Clerk Washington, let's vote on 285, please.
Sure. Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Martin,
no,
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Absolutely.
Councilmember Smith,
No.
Vice President Lupian,
No.
President Melendez.
Yes, motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-3 into the record, with council members Martin, Smith, and Vice President Lupian voting no.
Councilmember Harris, the Recreation and Human Services Committee report, please.
Thank you, President Melendez. To the Council, the Recreation and Human Services Committee recommends adoption for the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 274, authorizing agreement for related foster care transfer and coordination and community outreach for Rochester Animal Services. Introductory number 275, authorizing agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget related to the Petco Love 2022 grant. Introductory number 276, amending ordinance number 2022-92 and amending the 2022-23 budget for spay and neuter services. Introductory number 277, authorizing a licensing agreement for use of real estate. Introductory number 278, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget relating to the Erie Canal Heritage Corridor event grant. Introductory number 279, authorizing agreement and amending the 2022 budget relating to the Flower City Public Health Corps. Introductory number 280, authorizing a mandatory agreement relating to the healthcare workforce resiliency program. Introductory number 281, appropriating funds for the rock music program. Introductory number 282, appropriating funds for the rock paint division mural arts project. Introductory number 283, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for the International Plaza. Introductory number 284, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, amending the 2022 to 23 budget and authorizing agreements for youth employment services. This report was respectfully submitted by Willie J. Lightfoot, Councilmember Willie J. Lightfoot, Councilmember Stanley Martin, and Vice President Mary Lupian, President Miguel A. Melendez Jr., and myself, Councilmember LaShaye D. Harris.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. That report will be received, filed, and published, and will proceed with the vote. Introductory number 274, authorizing agreement relating to foster care, transfer coordination, and community outreach for Rochester Animal Services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 7-1 into the record with Councilmember Pio voting no.
Introductory number 275, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget relating to the Petco Love 2022 grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 276, amending ordinance number 2022-92 and amending the 2022-23 budget for spay and neuter services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 277, authorizing a license agreement for use of real estate. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 278, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget relating to the Erie Canalway Heritage Corridor Event Grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 279, authorizing an agreement and amending the 2022-23 budget relating to the Flower City Public Health Corps. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 280, authorizing an agreement relating to healthcare workforce resiliency program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 281, appropriating funds for the rock music program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 282, appropriating funds for the rock paint division mural arts program project. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Introductory number 283, appropriating funds and authorizing agreement for the International Plaza. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay,
Nay.
and I will abstain.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 6-1-1 into the record with Councilmember Pito voting no and President Melendez abstaining.
Introductory number 284, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, amending the 2022-23 budget, and authorizing agreements for the youth employment services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
All right, council members, for some reason, Finance Committee is my favorite committee tonight. We're going back to an item that we missed. Introductory number 233, authorizing funding and the acquisition of 308-310 Augustine Street. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
I will now read the Committee of the Whole report. The Committee of the Whole recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 289, confirming the appointment of Chief Technology Officer. That report will be received, filed, and published, and will proceed with the vote. Introductory number 289, confirming the appointment of Chief Technology Officer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0 into the record.
Congratulations, Mr. Bedoro. We look forward to working with you. And
Thank you. Thank you, President Melendez. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
so before we conclude the council meeting, I have a few miscellaneous items for me to end the meeting. First, City Council will be taking our show on the road. Our council members have been discussing this for some time. We will confirm when this will begin, but we're looking at beginning this in the fall. Our intention is to visit various locations throughout the community to engage. Our plan will include visiting rec centers, high-rise buildings, other community spaces to increase our community engagement and also understand neighborhood level priorities across the city of Rochester and all 4 council districts. So that's one item. The second, as I would like to announce, as I mentioned earlier, that we will be having some public safety work sessions with reports to the public. My intention is that these will be live streamed to ensure that the council and the public are educated on the latest happenings and strategies in our city, not just to address crime, but to address ongoing safety related and prevention strategies, as well as our efforts to diversify our workforce in public safety related spaces. So this will be hosted by the council's public safety committee, and we'll work with the administration to develop a calendar and outline a quarterly meeting schedule for that. And then finally, just 2 events that I wanted to highlight from the council. I would ask my colleagues in the community to support upcoming events. First, this weekend, Councilmember Lightfoot is co-leading city's Total Health and Wellness Fair. This fair will be located at Lightfoot Square, 647 Jefferson Avenue, this Saturday, the 23rd, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The public, more information is available at on the city website, cityofrochester.gov/health and wellness. And then I am also leading employment fairs. We call them Rock the Block employment fairs in each part of the city with support from administration and council colleagues. The first fair will be held on July 30th at Jones Square Park in the Northwest. That's at 170 Saratoga Avenue from 11 to 3 p.m. We'll have food, music, employment opportunities, and these fairs will occur once a month through October. So we'll be having a press event to provide more details on all of the upcoming employment fairs. And I look forward to the community stopping by both of these council sponsored events. So if there's no further business to come before the council, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We do have some speakers potentially on the B list, so we will check in on the link. Otherwise, have a good night. Thank you.